Can you imagine a place on Earth where it hasn't rained for 500 years, yet millions of people still live and thrive? This is the Atacama Desert in Chile, the driest place on the planet. With an average annual rainfall of only 0.761 millimeters, less than a single drop of water you drink every day, it's a land where dryness rules and water is the rarest treasure. While we're used to sudden showers and cloudy skies, in Atacama, rain is a distant dream. Here, every drop of water is worth more than gold, and survival means adapting to extreme scarcity. The horizon stretches endlessly, baked under the relentless sun, testing the limits of life itself. So how can life exist in such a merciless place? Today, join Benz, the fearless explorer, on a journey to uncover the answers. From unique geographical forces, to extraordinary life forms that defy nature, and the surprising consequences when the long-awaited rain finally arrives. Imagine living in a place where the sky stays cloudless all year, and the land cracks open from thirst. Some parts of the Atacama Desert went without rain for over 400 years, from the 16th century until 1971. How could any creature or human survive here? Science points to the main culprit. The cold Humboldt Current carries moisture from the Pacific Ocean, but the towering Andes Mountains block it, creating a massive rain shadow. To survive, microorganisms hide deep within rocks to shield themselves from deadly radiation and to trap precious moisture. Now, Benz will take you on a journey to hunt for clues in this land of the dead. The Atacama Desert sits between the vast Pacific Ocean and the towering Andes Mountains, a natural trap for drought. Moist ocean air is chilled by the Humboldt Current, reducing its ability to condense, and then blocked by the Andes, forcing rainfall to fall elsewhere. At its hyper-arid core, the desert receives less than 2 millimeters of rain each year. According to nature, the Atacama is the oldest desert in the world, existing for over 150 million years with a remarkably stable climate. Here, Ben stands on this ancient land, feeling the brittle white salt crust beneath his feet, a silent trace of millions of years of relentless dryness. The cold Humboldt Current chills ocean air, sharply reducing its humidity. The subtropical high-pressure system further prevents clouds from forming. Then, the Andes rise like a massive wall, blocking any remaining moisture from crossing into the desert. With its high salt content, Atacama's soil absorbs the tiny traces of moisture from the air, making it even drier than the Sahara. Walking through the dusty winds, Benz feels the raw power of nature's giant water-sucking machine. The Atacama Desert receives an average of only 0.761 millimeters of rain per year. Some weather stations have never recorded rainfall at all. With humidity below 5% and soil rich in salt, the environment here is strikingly similar to Mars. NASA has even tested its rovers in this desert. Studies reveal that these extreme conditions are not temporary. They have persisted for millions of years, defying global climate shifts. Bending down to collect a soil sample, Benz witnesses its near-absolute dryness. This land is so dry that even bacteria struggle to survive, yet over 1 million people call it home. Endolithic bacteria hide within rocks to escape deadly UV rays. Plant life is reduced to lichens and a few extreme-tolerant species. Humans survive by mining copper and lithium, and by inventing fog-catching nets that collect 10 to 15 liters of water from the air each day. Standing with the locals, Benz touches the rare drops of water they've gathered. Benz narrates, "I walked for hours, my lips dry and burning, yet I saw locals using seawater desalination technology to supply lithium mines. Ancient people lived here as far back as the Pleistocene, developing a resistance to toxic arsenic in the water. This is proof of humanity's remarkable power to adapt. He continues exploring rocky caves, searching for traces of ancient life. Here, people drink water collected from fog, just like saving every drop at home. Some fog nets capture up to 200 liters a day, enough to support agriculture. Helping to set up a net, Ben says, this teaches us to value every single drop of water. Nearly exhausted from thirst, Ben learns how locals rely on mining to survive. He witnesses lithium extraction for electric vehicle batteries, but it drains the region's groundwater. To adapt, they pipe seawater 100 kilometers into the desert. Just as you beat the heat with air conditioning, the people of Atacama use technology to survive. They grow crops in hydroponic greenhouses, saving up to 90% of water. Solar power fuels the desalination systems that turn seawater into life. Standing inside a greenhouse, Ben picks a ripe fruit and says, technology is the key to survival. Life here has evolved to endure extreme dryness. Cacti store water, bacteria survive in salty soil, and lichens cling to rocks. But when heavy rain comes, many of them die. Observing patches of lichen, Ben says, they're like models of life on Mars. In the midst of the barren desert, a miracle unfolds. Millions of flowers bloom at once after a rare rainfall. This phenomenon is called Deserto Florido. For years, tiny seeds lie hidden beneath the sand, patiently waiting for just a few millimeters of precious water to awaken life. When the rain arrives, they explode into carpets of purple, pink, and gold, transforming the dead land into a magical sea of color. But the spectacle lasts only a few weeks before heat and dry winds take everything away, leaving the desert bare, as if no miracle had ever happened. In most places around the world, flowers bloom seasonally, year after year, right on time. But in Atacama, it can take decades before the desert blooms again. These plants survive long stretches of time by hibernating in the soil, waiting for the perfect moment to burst into life. The lesson is clear: patience can turn time into strength, and in the harshest environments, opportunities come only once. When they do, you must seize them, because you never know when they will return. At first glance, rain in the desert seems like a gift from nature. But in Atacama, it can turn into a disaster. Life here has adapted for centuries to extreme dryness. When sudden rainfall arrives, the ground forms hypersaline lagoons, super salty pools that cause osmotic shock, killing masses of organisms. Studies show that rains from 2015 to 2017 wiped out up to 85% of native species. For Atacama, rain is not salvation, it's a double-edged sword that can erase an entire ecosystem in just days. Scientists warn that if climate change continues to bring more rain to Atacama, the desert could be transformed entirely. In the optimistic scenario, it becomes a fertile land covered in lush vegetation. But in the pessimistic scenario, endemic species, adapted only to dryness, could face mass extinction. Increased rainfall from strong El Niño events may bring more water, but also disrupt the delicate balance Atacama has maintained for millions of years. In 2018, a heavy rainfall wiped out around 80% of the bacteria in Atacama's hyperarid core. The cause wasn't just the sudden influx of water, it was also the way it altered the salt content of the environment. This change shocked organisms that had thrived for centuries in conditions of extreme scarcity. It's a stark reminder that not every change in nature is good. Life here is built on extremes, and any major disruption can be a fatal blow. The story of Atacama reveals a truth: balance is the key to survival. Too little water, and life withers away. Too much water, and life is destroyed. In your own garden, a single heavy rain can drown roots and kill plants. In Atacama, this principle plays out on a far harsher scale. Maintaining stability, even in the harshest environments, is the true key to lasting survival. If, over the next 500 years, Atacama were to receive constant rainfall, how would it change? It might transform into grasslands or even a semi-arid forest. But it's also possible that this process would completely wipe out species that have existed for millions of years. Climate change is rewriting the ecological map of the planet, and Atacama may become one of its clearest examples. Will climate change turn Atacama into fertile farmland, or erase it entirely? Rain could help humans expand agriculture, but it could also destroy the habitat of ancient species. This question remains unanswered, and you, watching now, may be the one to witness the answer in the future. The story of Atacama is not just about a desert, it's a lesson in adaptation, patience, and the limits of nature. From 150 million years of surviving in dryness to the challenges of climate change, Atacama reminds us that life always finds a way, but only when it maintains balance. And perhaps, the future of this desert is also a glimpse into the future of our planet.